Hey, I'm Miss Chrissy.
And I'm Steve.
You're listening to JAGcast, episode 135, the podcast of the Jenkintown Arts Garage.
Right, where we talk to artists, entrepreneurs, and other interesting people at the intersection of the arts and technology. And
Yeah,
we actually have an interesting guest today. But once again, Chrissy, nice laggy intro.
I don't know why it's so laggy.
Just,
That was extra laggy.
I mean, I like how
Sorry.
all of our episodes seems to just be us staring at you, staring at the audience for a few seconds.
Sorry, people.
It's okay.
My
No,
apologies. I'm laggy.
The internet people, it's tough. So we have a really interesting guest today, returning guest. We're Kotaro Fujita. It's a friend of mine. I work with at Philly Coca Heads, the developer group for Apple stuff. We thought, who better to talk to us about the new world of spatial computing, as Tim Cook calls it. With the, if you haven't heard, Chrissy, there's a brand new headset thing, VR headset thing coming out from Apple called Vision Pro. Yeah, you can actually order it now. Well, I mean, I think it's probably sold out, but like you could have ordered it at the time of this recording a couple days ago. It's going to be available in people's hands starting February 2nd. You'll be able to go to the Apple Store, and there's like a whole process. You can get some kind of demo, but the idea is like, what is this thing good for? Would you want to buy it? It's very, very expensive. So Kotaro has been doing a lot of work exploring how to make apps in this space. And he's a designer, and he'll introduce himself. But I think it would be a good guy to talk to. Are you excited, Chrissy?
I am excited. I'm very curious about this new. Is it like a product, or it's like a whole concept, a world? What is it?
It is multiple things. Tim Apple has created a product. Tim Apple, that's a joke. It's not really. It's Tim Cook.
Haha.
Okay.
Nerd.
Nerd jokes. Anyway, let's bring Kotaro on, and I think he'll have some good insight into what the heck is this thing. So first, let's welcome back Kotaro Fujita here. Welcome to the pod.
Howdy. How goes it?
Hi, Kotaro. How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So what is this thing?
What is this thing?
The Vision Pro.
It is a new mixed reality, or I guess they call it spatial computing headset, announced and going to be released by Apple February 2nd. It is if you messed with anything like Oculus or MetaQuest or any of those products, you kind of get the gist of like maybe one half of the story, which is the VR experience. So I then a glorified way of looking at it is like if it's like a weird feeling of having a computer on your head versus
right on your face
as a laptop. Yeah, right on your face. That's actually to me feels like a better analogy, because what you're doing a lot of times is you're opening up apps, and don't think of it like iPhone apps, but think of it like your Windows or your Mac apps, and you're opening up these windows that you can see and you can place in virtual space, if you will, and then you can shrink, you can resize them, you can reorient them, and basically, imagine instead of paying a couple of $300 monitors or 150 monitors for maybe a static set of monitors, right? You can have a tall, high vertical monitor, a wide, panoramic screen monitor, just like in all different sizes, and as many windows and monitors as you want. So I think in this version or this iteration of Vision Pro, think of it as a glorified, glorified desktop space that kind of like allows you to have a lot of different things happening at once. And yes, it does have 3D.
Yeah. So while Kotaro has been speaking, if you're just listening to this on the video version, been showing some of the examples of the Vision Pro from Apple's website, from their guided tour, and what it looks like. And yeah,
so Kotaro, do you think you're gonna like sit in your living room and be like, like, I don't know, it seems
so thankfully the gestures are not as grandiose as
Elaborate.
say like Minority Report. Most of the time, it's just a little pinch, because they have cameras in. I believe they said 12 cameras approximately in
So
all
many.
parts of this device, and two particularly pointing down, so that it will capture a lot of your gestures. Where a lot of these gestures are really your eyes become the cursor. So if you think about it from a standpoint of like you look at an icon, you have a grid of icons, and you're looking at one, it will begin to like start to react, and then when you pinch, when you say okay, that's the icon I want, that I want to go into Safari, you just pinch, once, and then it'll open up the app. Think of it like a glorified click of your mouse, and then to drag something, you pinch and hold, and then you gesture in a certain direction, and it'll go in that direction.
There could be a whole
so
dance of that.
yes, there's I think ultimately, I mean, it still will recognize simple gestures. Like if you're trying to scroll up something of like a web page, it'll recognize those gestures, I believe. But the goal is not to give you sort of like this like not to have to do all this.
Yeah.
You can do these wild gestures, but you don't need to. I mean, that would be such arm fatigue.
You can leave your hands on your lap in the demos that Apple did. People are basically
That
sitting on a
seems
couch.
boring, but okay. I
Well,
like the
yeah,
idea of,
well, you can. You probably could do that. We are going to talk about some of the apps that might be coming out for this, and some of them do include like stuff where you have to move around. But this thing is apparently very heavy on your face.
Yeah,
Like it's
they
like
say-
it's like it's heavy as an iPad Pro almost, the big one,
oh,
right?
so
like super heavy.
basically,
That doesn't sound comfortable.
heavy as this iPad.
How much is
Pro,
it? Like
which
is it like a pound
13.
or more?
I forgot the exact amount, but I mean, this iPad Pro with the cover, with like just a simple folio cover, feels almost about as heavy as like a MacBook Air.
It's 21 to 21.2 to 22.9 ounces.
So it's like almost 2 pounds on your head.
Yeah, with a separate battery
No.
pack.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of it is like distributed like in the front area. So
yeah, that's the issue with it.
that's where the meat of it. Now they do have like they give you a default band that just goes to the back of your head, but for better support, they also have a strap to cover the top of your head if you wanted it. And they said a lot of people who've demoed the recent versions of it said that does cause some discomfort. But if they had the head strap, that's the discomfort. So you really don't want to use this product for more than maybe, in terms of like sessions, more than maybe like an hour or 2 hours at best. And battery life is not going to last more than 2 hours anyway. So you almost by default would either have to plug it in or just take it off and actually stretch out your neck a little bit.
I mean, if you're what's interesting, you know all those trashy isekai anime we watch. Some of them
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, there's some of them where they're in like a virtual world, right?
Yeah.
A lot of them nowadays, and they always have the characters in the real world just lying on their bed with the headset on, and I feel like that's going to be a use case for a lot of people for this thing if it's really so heavy on your face.
I mean, this goes off on a tangent, but I had wondered, like, will adult diapers become a thing? Because if you're going to be I know, it's disgusting to think about, but like, if you think about it, right, if you're being stuck in that world, right, for that long, your body's got to do something at some point. Either you have to get off that world, right, and like turn, log off basically.
Go make yourself a cup of coffee. That'd be weird.
I think one of the other things.
I'm overthinking this whole. It's like sometimes like real logic when it gets into like when you think about comic books, it's the same type of analogy. It's like, why do we allow all these vigilantes out there?
Yeah. Well, I think we're talking about the anime more than the Vision Pro with the diaper thing.
Anyway, all right,
but yeah, one of the things interesting about this hardware that makes it distinct from other headsets you might be able to get on the market is besides the fact that it's just way more powerful, Apple attempted to create something where what they say, I guess, is that you're not actually separated from your environment. They're trying to create something which is more of augmented reality than virtual reality. They call it spatial computing, as Kotaro was describing, where things are in your physical world, but they're digital things that you can manipulate and see and see floating in space. But one of the other things they did, which is they make the front of the headset
Yeah,
instead of
that's
just
weird. I watched
wait
the
look,
little video. It's
look at
creepy.
that.
I don't like it.
There it is.
Right.
There's
And
the
you know that's not your real eyes. That's like a deep fake version of your eyes.
it's a
Yeah,
deep
no,
fake
I
version.
saw
Yeah.
that. And then there's like deep fake, well, to use your words, avatars or something. Like if you have a phone call with someone, it's like some
I
fake
had
version.
Oh, is
wondered,
that?
like one
Yeah.
of the first things that I was thinking about was like, what happens if I stick out my tongue? Like, will it like come up with a fake version of that, or will it just not acknowledge that I have one?
Oh yeah, I don't know. Do they have any demo of
So
that on here somewhere?
no,
I don't
they
know.
don't have any demo. Like I think pretty much it's all like like when you open up your mouth, there's just this black gap. There's nothing there. And I
They
think that's how
have
they get around it.
they have
But like
this.
if
They don't have the floating avatar. Is that going to be a thing in version 1 when on release the avatar thing? Because they don't even show it on the website. They show
Mhm.
floating windows.
So,
because like
so what do
oh,
you
go ahead.
do with this thing? I mean, I mean, obviously there's like an entertainment component, like I watched the thing about what I think, what is it? Spatial video, where you like pull up a video and you feel like you're inside of it. That's really cool, or that dinosaur thing. That looked really cool. But besides like the entertainment part, do you think people are gonna like sit down to like their virtual job and be like, okay, I'm doing the big gestures again, but you know what I mean?
Sure, do the Minority Report moves.
Right.
I would say for this version, it's tough to tell because this version nobody knows. Like it really depends on what apps, what third-party apps come out. What ideas come out, right? Because this is like a totally new in this space. It's kind of like it's not necessarily known like what people will use it for. Like for creative types, for example, would I want to draw and paint on this platform? I don't think so, right?
I say, if
Um,
you did, what would the product end up like, and then who would be able to access it? I mean, there's a lot of questions.
um,
It's cool, but I mean, isn't VR generally just like an entertainment thing, like the ones you were talking about, like Oculus and stuff?
Yeah. Well,
I,
here's an
I
example
mean,
of an app that is not for Vision Pro yet, but painting in 3D space, tilt brush.
And then what do you do with it?
so that's the type of thing where like that is like there's a like you can make a virtual painting, but then so maybe if you're doing like 3D modeling, but there's a reason why this thing has pro at the end of it, which I don't think a lot of people really got when they first saw it, was the fact that because it's pro, um, there's an implication of like high end. And usually
Yeah.
in the Mac world, when they say pro, it's for professionals. So people who are content creators of some kind, whether it be musicians, artists, writers, videographers, so on and so forth. Um, so I would hope that one of the things that comes out of this is much more of like art tools. And I think there was one that was like a DJ app that was demoed. You see a few games, but nothing like I would say like mainstream ish at the moment. That will probably be still experienced as through you can connect your game controller to it, so you can play like games on a big screen TV, like in a traditional like
Oh, really? That's cool.
style. Uh, so, but you won't get that sort of like tactile or like visceral experience. One of the things that makes the spatial computing, I hate. I'm gonna hate using that term, but
I know. Well, they
that
don't want
makes
to.
it
Apple doesn't want to call it VR, AR, like because
right.
other
Well,
there's
VR in general.
competitors that exist.
I think VR is one of those weird experiences where, like, when you play a game in it, especially if you're doing like something first person, like, there's something much more visceral about, oh, like, my brain knows technically that this is not real, right?
Yeah.
If I'm playing the game where you're like walking on a plank in a virtual like tower, right? Like you get out of a virtual elevator and you're walking on a virtual plank outside, right? In this virtual like outdoor scene, and you're like, logically you're in VR, you should be safe, but your body reacts so viscerally. And it's like, I'm gonna fall. You're not gonna fall, but
Well,
it feels like it. Like there's so much of there's this weird level of empathy that's hard to describe that you can only get in VR.
you had some kind of experience with an earlier VR headset, right? Where it was like a
Yeah.
guillotine simulation or something.
Yeah. You wanted to know what it was.
That sounds
What
really creepy. I gotta
Well, the
say.
hilarious part is like it's a setup. So it was like a glorified demo app where you start off you put you put your I think you're bent on a chair basically. You have to like take a simple chair and you like put your head down as if you're about to get your head chopped off basically, and you're pointing down and the demo starts that way, and then you kind of fade to white, so to speak. Like you start in like black in the screen, and then you start hearing these audio like, "Hey, kill this guy! I hate this guy!" And they're all in French, but they're very angry at you. And then you look up, and then you see like this, static crowd of people from like the French Revolution. You're like, "Oh, what the heck is that? Like, what's going on here?" Right? And then you look up, and then you see the guillotine like come down at you, and that's how the game. That's how the demo ends, basically.
Creepy.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I don't like
it's
that.
just,
That's weird.
yeah, but that was a crazy shock to the system of like,
But
whoa.
Wait, you did that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did that.
I didn't make it, but I know I've experienced that.
You
kind of like,
you did the experience? That sounds
Yeah.
creepy.
I have never
The
been
other-
able to use these things. I've never had an opportunity to use any.
We
of these
did
things.
them at the beach.
Mhm.
Like not obviously vision, whatever, but the weird VR things. They are cool, but that's
Yeah.
why I'm wondering, like, beyond the like
Well,
entertainment sort of factor,
Um,
like kind of what people are gonna do with it. I guess that's the cool part though. You don't know.
So the nefarious thing that me and Steven would always joke about is like, what's the worst thing you can do with it, right? To start off. So like one of the things that I thought, I can't say the worst thing, but like the most obvious thing is like you can have multiple monitors and multiple different size dimensions that you want. So think of it like a day trader or somebody that needs that many monitors at once, right? So they can watch the news here, they can see their stocks, their list of stocks here, they can see their charts there and the graphs here, and they could literally surround themselves with hundreds of different monitors of different sizes and dimensions just all around them, and probably save that state so they always have access to it, right? And to be able to do that on an airplane while they're yelling at their client or something like that to buy something, right? I don't know. There's
actually an airplane mode, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So there's a mode, Chrissy, where if you have the newest version of the AirPods Pro, not the ones we have, actually, it's a slightly newer version. You put them in your ears and you turn in like this special airplane mode, and it's supposed to. They say it adjusts to the motions of a plane. I don't know what that means, but anyway, you're supposed to be able to sit back and be kind of isolated from the actual plane, and have a more relaxing ride.
So
as long as your plane ride is 2 hours or less, I guess.
If there's a screaming baby
Yeah, exactly.
in the plane, you can kind of shut them out.
Yeah,
Is that how this would work?
Yeah, you can live in their world. And this is not this thing I was showing earlier. This painting VR. This is on the Meta's platform, I guess. Facebook Meta. I think it's on theirs. Yeah, but this is an example. This is just painting in VR. So I guess this whole thing is VR. I don't know if you've used this, Kotaro.
Yeah, that's strictly VR.
So you're in a virtual world.
That
it's
might
not.
Be.
I'm not sure.
No, that looks virtual. Yeah, that is virtual.
It looks like it's all VR. So this type of experience is totally doable, and I'm sure someone will make this kind of thing. But it's also possible to do it like in a mixed environment. So like I imagine like this kind of thing. What if you had an actual canvas and you're actually painting, but then with the headset you could also overlay on top of that something else. Like you could make your painting come alive. Like that kind of a thing. Those kinds of experiences, what I think we should think about with this kind of headset. There's the whole VR experiences. Then there's the experiences where you're like mixing reality with computer generated stuff. And they do have a demo of this. I think that comes with a headset. It's like the dinosaur one is I think the thing where you can just show it shows like a dinosaur in your living room or something.
So I kind of did what I was not supposed to do, which was kind of think of it from an app developer's perspective, of like what would come out. But basically, like I think for this version of Vision Pro, or at least for this year, you probably shouldn't expect more than being able to like watch TV do a lot of multitasking and like as many different types of screens as you want, and maybe some cute experiments, but nothing tremendously compelling from like why you would like no killer app, so to speak, for why you would buy a $3,500 heavy headset. In my mind.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There's always it's always Fruit Ninja.
Yes, you can.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah. So this is apparently a launch game. This is a launch app, right? Fruit Ninja.
That will be a launch app.
And so I mean that's always fun. That's been in other systems, but so this just shows you the Vision. See, the thing I think about the Vision Pro is Apple. I feel like Apple has not done a great job of explaining what it's for, like because they don't necessarily know. I got the impression when they initially announced it, it was announced at WWDC, right? Was it announced at WWDC or separate event? I can't remember now.
Oh, that's a good question.
But when it was announced, it was all very developer focused, and it was like, here's some random stuff that we could do. Even most of or a good chunk of Apple's own apps aren't going to be optimized for it at launch. But there are going to be stuff like this. Like this is Fruit Ninja in your living room though. So like this is not right. This is not the VR version. This is at least this doesn't look like it. This looks like it's in someone's actual.
Wait, so will the fruit be in your living room?
Yeah,
or
you can
will
see.
The fruit be like in some like fake scene?
No, this looks like it's in the living room.
Oh, well, that's fun.
I mean,
there are a lot of like cool and interesting things, but like, are they cool enough for $3,500? Would be the question.
I think the $3,500 thing that's definitely a barrier. But as Kotaro said, this is a version 1. It's marketed as a pro thing. It's very expensive on purpose, and it's not meant for general consumption yet. It's meant for I think specific niche work use cases and first adopters and developers who have the capital to experiment in this space. And it's and then it's expense. The next year there should probably be a cheaper version in about a year.
I have a random question.
Sure.
So when Apple came out with the iPhone, I didn't get an iPhone until like a 4 or a 5, but I was like, I'm always slow.
I didn't get one until 3G or 3GS.
But like, how long was that? Do you guys know?
Like how long ago it was? Or
like between adoption? Like the first one and the one that was more accessible to people.
Well, the first one was pretty accessible, but I guess it was probably the 3G. I would say, or the 4.
Yeah, if I'd had to say, like when it was 3G, maybe like 4 was probably the one that would have been like I wouldn't call it turning point because I feel like it was already there.
Is that the one with the you're holding it wrong problem?
I think that was the one with
because it was like big enough. It was big enough to be in the news and everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it was the one where it dramatically changed the design. It's closer to what it looks like now, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, it looks a lot like my 12 mini, to be honest. But I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, it became a big deal when the SDK came out, and I think like that was like iPhone 3 or 3GS.
What's SDK?
Oh, sorry. It is the developer kit that allows app developers such as myself to develop and then publish apps on the App Store, on the Apple.
So,
App
but
Store.
how long was that, like time-wise?
It was a few years.
Was that like
it was a few years,
2 years, 3 years?
3 to 4, probably 4 would be close.
I think I think it's hard to compare because the iPhone started out like big, like people lined up for it. It sold out. But it was limited to just AT&T, I think at the time.
AT&T was
and that was several years, and then it really expanded once it was off of just AT&T. It got really big. But I mean, I would say it did not take long. I think it was a couple years, 3 years, 4 years max before everybody had one. It took I got in on it on I think the 3GS is what I think the first one was I bought because I was waiting for the better networking. And
I think
so that was like 3 versions in.
I think a better analogy in my mind is like the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
When the first Apple Watch came out, that was like everybody got hyped about it, but then nobody knew what to do with it. Even Apple was like, we don't know. We thought it was like this sort of like fashion piece.
How long was that? Because Steve gave me an Apple Watch. It was like your old one, right? And I was like, I don't need this thing. This thing is stupid. And then now I'm like, I couldn't live without it.
Now you're in your second one because you had my old
And
one. That one broke.
and you use it. How do you use it?
I use it. I particularly use it at work. One to play and pause music, so I don't have to go over to my stereo. Or now everything music is all on Bluetooth, so I might have my phone on the nearby, whereas before you'd have to like walk over to the studio, over to the corner to the stereo, which was a pain, you know what I mean? Play and pause, and then you run from one side to the other. And then I also use it. I can check my text and stuff while I'm teaching, like very briefly. I can be like, oh, something silly like like my daughter's trying to get a hold of me. Next time I get over my phone, I have to write back. You know what I mean? But I can just be standing in the middle of the room and be like, oh, that's BS. I don't have to worry about it. Steve just sent me a GIF, or, or, something crazy like, someone's like, oh, a glass broke in the kitchen. What do we do? You know what I mean? Not crazy, but, where it's, something that I do need to write back.
Okay.
Or my kids will be like, oh, I'm going to a basketball game. I'm like, okay, good to know. But I can do that on my watch without being disruptive to my class. And most importantly is the music. To be able to play and pause music while standing in the middle of the room is huge, or even, I always write, or not write, but I always lay out a playlist. And, I usually lay them out for each of my classes for the month. So after the first week, I've got a gist of, what comes after what. I'm like, oh, I'm going to skip the next 2 tracks, and I can do it from my watch.
I think when I think about the analogy that way, like even 00, I think could handle majority of those tasks. I think the weird part is like we haven't really had any real mental models of how, as consumers, how we would want to apply it to our day-to-day life, and nobody's had access to the hardware. Nobody's touched the actual, like, not like, you could probably count on like maybe less than 100, I would guess.
So Chrissy, here's an example. This is this DJ app, right? You shared, Kotaro. So this allows you to do full VR immersion, but also like a shared space kind of thing. I think this is what this is supposed to be a demo of, right? The shared space version. So in real life, this museum thing is supposed to be real life, right? This is from the SDK. The SDK came with several environments, like pretend environments, like your kitchen
3D environments.
Yeah, like your kitchen, your living room, a museum or something. But imagine this: you could be. I guess you can do DJ stuff, but virtually. I don't know how well this works. Like, do you touch the thing? Do you touch them? You go like.
One of the hilarious parts about it is like, how does the audio get outputted? Where does it go?
Is this just meant for you? I don't know. I didn't read the whole article.
It would strike me as funny is like you're just doing this in the subway station, and like everybody's like, okay, he's hyped about something in his virtual world, but but nobody else gets to enjoy the experience unless you have unless you connect to a Bluetooth speaker, maybe.
No, but you know those silent dance parties concept where everybody has headphones and they're all listening to the same music. So they're like in a warehouse, something, but instead of blaring it with speakers, you just have the headphones. I could see this, working for that kind of thing too. I mean, it's weird. It's creepy. A lot of the things Zoomers do are creepy. Okay, so the young people.
I'm glad I'm not a Zoomer.
No, I mean, I've never experienced one of those. I don't exactly understand the appeal of it anyway. But I mean, this would have to be hooked up to some speakers or broadcast in some way, right? I mean, maybe the article. Maybe we should just read the article that Apple wrote. We could know how it works.
Well, the thing is like that
virtual turntables.
Like that is like one of those ones where being at being sort of the forefront of it. Yeah. I'm sure when it's released, they're gonna look at that and go, "Oh, none of these things are gonna properly apply." So
well, right. That's a good point. That's a good point because this is like version 1, and as you said, we haven't used it yet, and so who knows what's going to happen. I think you said earlier that a lot of this is going to be probably consumption focused to start with, and just big virtual screens. So it's like
I would think so.
A lot of us in the developer space, a lot of people who just work on computers all day are excited for the idea of having more screen real estate that's virtual, but I am skeptical about how much that's going to be used, because all the reports I was looking at video MKBHD did. He's a big YouTuber, tech YouTuber. I think it was a clip from his podcast or something, and they were talking about how every time they've gone through a demo of this thing, the weight of it has been an issue, and he couldn't imagine wearing it for like 2 hours. He couldn't imagine wearing it all
So,
day.
are you guys getting one?
No, because
Okay,
I can't afford it. It's like people buying this thing. It's at least $3,500. Most people are buying like a $4,000 one.
If you were to get as a developer, it would make sense to get it, but the it's tough even as a developer, right? That is literally maybe like, was it 2 MacBook Airs and or like maybe a souped up MacBook Pro, right?
So what do you think your and this is such a like big hypothetical, and you guys are computer people, so it's different than like the way I would see it. But what's your like break even? You're like, if it was $2,000, I'd do it. If it was, you know what I mean?
If you're making money from
closer. Yeah. If your business is in like as an indie developer, if your business is like that's your business, you could probably write it off as an expense.
Yeah,
I mean, you can
think
write
a lot of I think a lot of developers. I think I saw Curtis, our friend Curtis, who does a Slopes app. I think he posted he was not getting one yet, but would wait for a cheaper version. So I think I've seen that kind of idea from other people. I could be wrong about that. So, but
it's hard to say like what a good use case for it is, right? Or what a good
That's
use
what
case
I was trying to get at.
it.
Besides like fun and
well, I mean, I've been
hey, I
showing,
have disposable income. I think this thing looks cool. You know,
first of all, that's not a bad reason to buy something.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad reason. It's just not what were you calling? It's not like
so throughout
not most people's.
No, but throughout this conversation, I've been showing, images and from some various apps either for this or for Meta's version of things that give you a taste of the kind of stuff you could do. We have Apple has this whole guided tour that if you are interested in this product.
I watched it yesterday, and then I watched some YouTuber woman go through, and she was like, "It's kind of amazing." I don't know who she was because I don't.
Was it iJustine?
So.
That's probably iJustine.
Yeah, it was iJustine.
iJustine, yes.
She has a big thing.
She's famous. Yeah, she's been
around at least in the tech scene. Yeah,
she's been doing this for a long time on YouTube. Yeah.
Well, I actually enjoyed her video. So.
Yeah. I think again like because it's a version 1.
I like how dystopian this looks. This image.
I watched that thing. It was cool.
So I didn't watch something, but look at this. This image I have on the screen for those listening. It's a guy and some woman sitting on a couch, and he has a headset on, and I guess he's looking at a picture.
That was cool. She walks him through it, and it really does seem like he's never done it before. I mean,
I get that. But
he's an actor, but
the still image here is what I want to talk about. This is unintentional because I believe this woman is like as you say, walking him through this. But it looks like a couple sitting on a couch, and he's just in his own world, and she's staring at him like, "What are you doing?"
What they don't show you, and I'm sure what they don't show you is like in real life, that screen is not there, right?
Yeah, for her, like she doesn't see it. So
if you were to use like Photoshop to just like basically I forgot what the AI software is, but like to like mask out that spot and like replace it with like what the real background would be, it'd just be nothing. And so
it's like, how does this supposed to work in your life though? Like this is one of the things I've had a question about this. I'm curious to see how it works out in the real world. This thing is all about a very personal experience. Now, despite Apple putting effort into making sure you're not totally separated from your environment, at least when you're in like a shared space or like just Windows or something, you're still with this freaking headset on your face and you're experiencing it, and everyone around you is not. Unless everybody has one and you're all in the same app that's sharing the same virtual space, right? Like you don't see what the person with a headset sees. So like this example or the screenshot here is unintentional on Apple's part, but it kind of demonstrates what I think is going to be a real life situation. You're going to have like, let's be fair, it's probably the guy in the relationship is going to buy one of these things. And he's, it's going to be a toy for a lot of people who have disposable income, but you're not going to buy like multiples of these things, right? So, you're going to have a situation where one person is wearing it and the other person is
Isn't
just
that
in
like
the room.
kind of the same as like the video game thing. I mean, like, I guess
Well,
some people in their homes would play video games together, but most people, it's like one person playing and the other person doing something else.
Well,
One of the fascinating, not to cut you off, Steve. One of
yeah.
the fascinating things that I saw recently was the PlayStation Portal, which allow for $200 you can get basically like a control with a screen on it. Basically, think about like a Switch, but like nothing. There's no. It's just a monitor, and all this thing does via Wi-Fi is stream your game from your PlayStation to this PlayStation Portal. And what allows you to do is that somebody else can watch the TV. Maybe you're watching a sports event or a concert, and you have friends and family over, right? They don't want to watch you playing, Spider-Man or whatever. You could just but you don't want to watch the event, so you can just on the recliner on the other side.
Seems like a very solitary experience at this point.
No, okay. So I was going to say that, yeah, this is very solitary. I was going to say gaming though. Traditionally, console gaming used to be much more of a shared experience because you played on your television, and then over time, the consoles have pushed more towards being portable consoles, like the Switch being the biggest console in the world for the last 6 years has been. Now it's been out 6, 7 years. It's been out for a long time, and that form factor has really taken over, I think, and yeah, and gaming is not as big. When I was a kid, I don't know about you, Kotaro, like gaming was much more of you either were playing it alone in your room, or if you were in the living room though, you were playing with other people because or at least people were watching you on the screen. I think that's the big difference. Like if you're not playing like a portable device, you would at least be playing on your living room television screen, so other people could at least see what's happening, and you could have some sort of shared experience with it. But at least a possibility. But there's no possibility of a shared experience with this unless everybody has one and you've all like joined the same experience. And I feel like it's even more potentially isolating than like phones are now. I mean, we see the jokes, you've seen the jokes for years that all the kids at, like Thanksgiving song, everybody's just looking at their phones. It happens in real life. I was just at my dad's house.
Happen.
Yeah, it was just my nephews were doing this. Like I was just there at my dad's house and for his birthday and went out to dinner, and then when we're at the house, like the nephews are just sitting there on their phones and they're playing video games on their phones. And it's like, you're just like, I can't imagine something more isolating though, potentially than this. So I feel like it's like a double-edged sword kind of thing. I think there's a lot of really cool things you do with it. Artistically, there's a lot of interesting experiences that we haven't even, touched on fully. But how do you prevent this being this overly isolating thing in a world where I feel like people are trying to break out of that isolation more lately?
Yeah, I guess what's kind of
we're trying to. I don't think I honestly don't think the younger people, but I don't think they care.
Well, you're an adult though. I mean, like the younger people, this is not healthy, and so like you have to we have to show them the way.
I wouldn't worry about the younger people, quote unquote.
Well, they're not going to have access to this. It's way too expensive to give it to them.
This is way too expensive. So
I'm not giving like $4,000 headset.
No parent is going to
no way.
It's like the modern day whiskey bar. It's
yeah.
Like,
however, the Oculus,
keep this a very expensive, thing in his drawer locked away for himself.
The Oculus products are cheaper though. I saw my nephew. He inherited one from his other uncle. I think it was where he got from, and he was playing with it. That one is much lighter. I think I'm talking about I think version 2, like one from a few years ago. And he was playing a game, and he was like doing this and stuff in the game. He was playing a first person shooter. It was very funny to watch from the outside. And that was that's the kind of thing I'm thinking of. I'm like they're especially younger people. I think this is going to be another one of those contentious issues in families and in the media. And some of it's going to be overblown, but some of it's going to be real.
I tell you, as a parent, these days there's always a fight. I mean, I guess there used to be that for video games and stuff, but it
wasn't the same thing with video. Like that's what I'm trying to say. Like video games.
Play video games, so I don't know.
But playing Nintendo is not the same thing as the isolation you get from cell phones. And there's evidence that using these devices and having them introduced into your life at a young age can have extreme negative effects on your social and psychological development. And it's still being researched. But I don't think we should just. I wouldn't. If I was a parent of kids with this, I would not be like just say, "Oh, yeah, go ahead and use it as much as you want." I'd say you'd have to.
I mean,
Well,
you'd want
I
to
think
control
as
it.
a parent, for most, until your kids get a little bit older, that is like your battle in life is
Oh,
how
yeah,
much
sure.
technology
Yeah, I mean, does
and they
this
have
work?
access to.
Does this work with Apple's what is it? The screen? What is it called? The
Screen time?
Screen
Screen
time.
time. Does this work with screen time?
No, you're right though, Steve. Who is sticking a 3000
Not this.
VR on their 8-year-old?
2 pound, 2 pounds, 8. Oh, the 8-year-old's not gonna be able to hold their head up.
I can't imagine it being very comfortable for a child.
I mean,
No, I
not
heard
if
it.
grown adults.
Justine said that she has a small face, and I guess it was difficult for her. I also have a pea head, so I can't imagine.
So the way I'm looking at it is
I wanna
that you
clip
don't have to. If there's anything about this product that I don't think parents would have to really worry about is like, there's Apple at the moment is not particularly well known for.
Oh, we lost Kotaro there for a second.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
We have you
sorry.
back, Kotaro.
I'm not sure what had a little. It wasn't me.
That's
Or it was me.
that's
I'm not sure.
the problem with this. You were you were saying Apple is not known for something, and then we lost you.
Games.
Right. Games.
Ga-
one word.
games.
The one word. Yeah, games. That's true.
Yeah,
They do have the Apple Arcade,
And then-
but
so you don't have to worry. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, considering like there's not like what I would call like a killer app in the App Store just yet. Maybe Solitaire or maybe like some of the more casual versions.
Solitaire.
But-
What?
Solitaire?
in
That's
terms
a
of
big claim to
casual
fame
games.
for the games.
I don't know.
I mean, I've never
shouldn't say
played
that.
Apple
Fruit
Arcade.
Ninja,
I
man.
don't know
Fruit Ninja's
anybody
gonna be
who has.
big.
Even
I was
my
about to
kids
say,
play
like-
the Switch though.
I do think Fruit Ninja is
Yeah.
going to sell to like basically everybody who buys one of these.
Fruit Ninja
Sure,
was
but it'll
cool.
be
We
the-
had it on some like terrible Lenovo computer when it was like the first time like
Wait.
touch screens were coming out,
Oh yeah, they had a touch screen.
and it would be like, I'm telling
So-
you,
So
even
now,
my
you
Amelia
can do
was
it
like
like
a
this one.
baby, and she loved it. She'd be like, and
Yeah,
this
yeah.
weird music that would play with like a monkey cartoon.
so yeah, so I mean, there's gonna be cool games. The thing about Apple's product is, I guess it's just gonna be the most advanced version of these things. But I guess the bigger picture though, to try to like to wrap up this so we can do a little bit of game called something, is that there's more than just this product. But now that Apple is entering the field, I think we're going to see, like what's happened with wearables, with the watch, like what happened with the iPhones, that it's now going to become a legitimate like thing. It's going to become a thing that more regular people are going to encounter. I feel like. I mean, it's usually how it goes, right, Kotaro? Like they just Apple comes in and they enter a space after it's existed for a while, and then all of a sudden it becomes mainstream. Like, well, all of a sudden,
I
in a
think
couple
that's
years.
I feel that's closer to the modern Apple. I
Yeah.
think if you were to
The Tim Cook Apple.
in the Steve Jobs era, that was more like it has to be perfect, and
Yeah.
so like maybe they might get it wrong. It's like really severe hit or misses. Like in Tim Cook's era of Apple, it's much more like maybe if we get it wrong, fine, but like by the third version, all the would have been like more refined, and then everybody wants it for whatever reason.
Yeah, well,
So-
we're now going to enter. We're now entering the spatial computing era, if Apple has their way with terminology. But
Sure.
the VR, AR era, and I'm just saying that there's going to be more products. Like the Meta stuff has already existed and been popular to a point, but now I think I think what you'll see is this will come out. It's real expensive now, but Apple will have a cheaper version, like maybe in a year or two or whatever, and then it's just going to keep, I think, snowballing. If the experiences are enticing enough, it will have, I think, a slow snowball effect. I don't think it's going to blow up like an iPhone, because nothing will like that. But maybe the size of an Apple Watch, maybe at some point. It'll be like iPads. iPads might be a good one too. It's like a second device you might have in your home, but you won't use all the time.
Yeah, I'm trying to think in my mind like what would be the closest analogy where we could see the trajectory of this product can be, and that might be, I mean, in a way, it could potentially be the next iPhone long term.
Yeah,
Because
long
it is a
term. If
computer on your head.
on your face.
It's a
Can
literal,
they make
like,
it
I mean,
sunglasses?
in-
That'd
in-
be cool.
in this like a laptop.
Yeah.
If you make the analogy like it's having a laptop, like and
Yeah,
all the
right on your
guts of
face.
it, right on your face,
And-
right?
and there are products now that are
Hey, I have a random question. This is so funny. So you have the VR thing on, and it has a short, or whatever the hell they want to call it. It has a short battery life, right?
Yeah.
2 hours or
Yeah.
something. Right.
Mhm.
Do you get to plug it
So
in while
like
you
a
sit
Windows
there
laptop.
and have yourself plugged into a wall?
Yes,
Yes. Yeah, you could do that.
you could. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's weird.
But to your point about
now you get into the weird areas
yeah,
of usage.
but to your point, Chrissy, about like sunglasses or glasses, there are some products now that are basically that form factor, but they are much more simplistic in what they can do. But the thing that they're doing now, and I think Meta has one that they're pushing, is they are integrating like generative AI stuff into them. So if you imagine like some future version of this, which is smaller and lighter weight, and also integrates with some kind of system like that, so you can give it verbal commands, you can have it can recognize things visually, and because you could do a lot of stuff now with these tools. I think the idea is that they're coming at it from like two different directions with these products. You have Apple right now. Here's a very expensive, fully immersive computer on your face. Here's like the cheaper, looks like sunglasses but can't do very much version down here, and then you're trying to meet in the middle. And one of the things that helps do that is going to be the AI tools, I think, because then you can have something that's less processing power, lighter weight, something you can wear outside, and then it can still be useful because it can hook up to the network and be able to do things like or recognize stuff around you, give you some basic visual AR stuff in front of your face, so you get like directions. You could look up, do translations, real-time translations, that kind of thing, I imagine. And then you have you're in the office, and maybe you have the more, the more expensive one to do the more expensive computing, So I feel like there's just going to be more of a range, just like there is a range of phones. This is how I imagine it right now happening. I don't know if you, what do you think, Kotaro?
I don't know. I mean,
That hurt it. He's not
Hurt his
sure about
head.
your theory, Steve.
You don't think there's going to be multiple kinds of facial computing devices?
I mean, I think well,
Not going to be called that, though.
I think there
Real life
will
Tony
be for at least
Yeah.
will be at least 3 years would be my guess before
Before you
like,
have
that becomes like okay, yeah.
Didn't
before
we
that
get to
becomes,
like
a
literally
really
turn into
viable
Inspector
idea.
Gadget?
Yeah, we
Yes.
are moving towards that era.
We're
yeah.
at that phase.
But no, I mean, I don't think it's
We're
gonna happen
there.
overnight. But there are products already that exist that they're in small scale now that you can, I think Meta's one of them. Build them. There's some they look like glasses. They have like a camera in them, and now they're having some AI supports. You can ask it questions verbally, and then the next thing is going to be if you can get the visual recognition models to work well enough, so you can recognize stuff in real life, silently. I think that would be useful too.
I will say one
Now
thing.
we're getting a little too technical.
You're losing me now.
One thing that would be
Yeah.
interesting, maybe this is a this year or next year kind of thing actually, is that we are kind of in an era where like a lot of these companies are like saying we don't want Apple to control the next whatever thing, right? Be AI specific or mixed reality specific.
Yeah.
So now you're getting these people that are normally in software, like Meta, and even small companies like the Rabbit R1 device or whatever, where they're trying to like have a nice piece of hardware to interface with their software, right? They're trying to build the next platform.
Yeah.
So you're going to see a lot of interesting devices, not just like face computing, but like maybe like long watches or like little pins with AI built into them. All sorts of different interfaces. So yeah, little Star Trek actually.
Yeah. So there's like two forces right now in the tech industry, I think, that you're going to see from a normal person's perspective, more and more products that are going to be either face computers or different kinds of form factors, and they're all going to have, I think, some kind of quote unquote AI features, and you're just going to see different companies trying different things out, and it's all going to in my mind, it all kind of blends together in my mind as like this attempt, as you're saying, Kotaro, to figure out what the next big thing is. And I don't know if it really will be anything as big as phones. I don't think phones are going away. I think they're just a really excellent form factor and it's just too useful to have a computer that size and shape carrying around with you. But you can add to it.
You know what I realized, like, the modern, maybe this was off topic, but like a modern analogy to me is like they've become our modern wallet, right?
Yeah,
These
exactly.
phones,
We still
in
have
a way.
wallets, but there's lots of different
Still have
kinds
wallets,
of wallets
but
now.
like you can walk out the house right now for the most part, and not have to depend on your wallet. For the
Yeah,
majority
with
of the stuff.
nothing, with your phone
Yeah.
in
Just
your
with your
pocket.
watch.
Just with your
Actually, just with a
phone.
watch.
Yeah,
Or just
yeah,
your phone,
even-
yeah.
You know,
I
the
don't trust
younger
that thing,
people,
but yeah.
they literally don't use the phone.
Who doesn't?
Like,
Oh, you mean like for phone calls?
correct. Like,
Yeah, they
both of
use-
my kids, my older kids have phone numbers. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So they technically have phone service, but they don't use the phone. Their voicemail isn't set
yeah.
up. They literally never use the phone. The only person that calls them on the phone is me, and they rarely pick up. If they talk to their friends, they do it on FaceTime.
So they're using the phone. They're
Oh,
just not using the phone network the same way. They're using I mean, so they do talk to people. They just do video calls.
Right, but they don't I don't think they ever use the phone app for anything.
Right.
Well, I mean, they're joining, I think, most of the world at this point, right? Isn't most of the place use like WhatsApp or something which has all that integrated into it? Has voice, video, and texting, doesn't it? WhatsApp. I haven't used it in a while.
Oh, so they're
I
using.
use
So they're
I
using.
don't like WhatsApp. It's weird.
It's the biggest
What's-
messaging app in the world, though. I think outside North America.
WhatsApp is used a lot outside of North America.
But I'm
So
saying
if you're
doesn't-
talking to people in like
Yeah, in
Europe
other countries,
or
right?
India.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
WhatsApp
In other
does
countries,
what? I mean, WhatsApp has video and audio, right? As well, just
Yeah.
like Messenger does. Yeah.
Pretty-
So
pretty
that's what I'm saying.
decent,
So everybody moved to this just because the phone app itself. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I rarely use the phone app. So
I mean, the funny thing is like FaceTime becomes much more convenient for friends and family.
yeah,
So yeah, FaceTime.
Well, they
is
don't
used a
even
lot
use it
more.
with the camera, though.
they just use audio FaceTime.
Yeah.
I mean, they use FaceTime, but they turn off the camera half the time. I'm like,
Yeah, they
that
just
is
do audio.
literally a phone call.
Yeah, it is. But
Yeah.
the difference is, I mean, you're not doing with a phone. You're not connecting with the phone number over the standard thing. I mean, yeah, it just.
Yeah.
It's weird, and then they'll like flip it on. But
But
my
is it
kids will
weird
be
because
sitting
you
in the living room and or in the kitchen, they'll be like, "I'm on the phone," and I'm like, "You're not on the phone. You're on like some video with the screen black. Like, I don't understand."
But it makes sense though because there's more options when you're on that, and maybe that's how this stuff's gonna go.
You should tell them one day there was a time where there was phones everywhere on the street and you put a quarter in them and you made.
Oh,
a
I
phone
mean,
call
I've told them these things. I
on
mean, they
these-
believe
on
me.
these mythical
I-
payphones.
I was
Or
explaining.
the house phones. Even that, they're like,
Mm.
I was like, when I was growing up, we had the house phone in the kitchen. You know what I mean? It was like the main phone of
Yeah.
the house, and it was right by the kitchen table. My grandfather because I grew up in my grandparents' house, was if someone called during dinner, not that they would possibly know that it was dinner, he was so mad. He was like, "Who the hell calls during dinner? Jesus Christ, blah blah blah." Like it was how does the other person know that we're eating? Like it was so weird. I just remember him yelling at the wall phone all the time.
So now we're the grandpas.
Yeah. I was explaining to my nephews last night what oh my god their dad was saying that he used to rent video game stuff and my one nephew then rent videos and my one nephew was like, you could rent how do you rent a YouTube video? I was like, oh my god. And so I had to explain. I was like, okay, I had to start at the beginning. I said, okay, at a time there was something called VHS tapes and I had to explain it was like magnetic storage, and I went through all this, and then then it evolved to DVDs. It's like optical, and I explained how they are encoding data. And I said, you used to go to a store, and you could also get video games, and they had cartridges like the Switch cartridges, but like this big. And this explanation took like 10 minutes or something. Five minutes.
My older kids remember Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Like going to Blockbuster to rent a movie. Amelia, my youngest daughter, who is now 11, no clue what the hell we're talking about. They used to play.
She'll probably point to like an abandoned one, like, what was that?
They don't even abandon anymore. They've all been converted.
Used to play video video, like Blockbuster. Like they had like a little cash
Yeah.
register, and they had a stack of like our old DVDs, and they would play. That was a game they would play. Like go check out the movie and take it home and blah blah. My youngest daughter, I mean, and they're only like sequentially 3 years apart, but she has no clue what they're talking about.
Blockbuster was only recent memory disappeared. It feels like forever ago, but it really wasn't forever ago. That Blockbuster still existed.
Somewhere in between.
Netflix, mail order Netflix was still the thing for a long time. Like that, it was a while ago now, but it was still in the 21st century era.
I did not like that. That was annoying.
That was so convenient. What do you mean?
Nope, didn't like it.
That was amazing. But that was during a time when Blockbusters. It was like Netflix was the answer to Blockbusters at that time. Right?
Yeah, Blockbuster got
you can hold on to that disc for as long as you wanted. I think, right?
Yeah, no penalties.
You still had to pay your subscription penalties.
I did not like that. I never remember.
I remember organizing my queue, figuring out which ones are one next.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It was great.
So we are
But now
like
we
approaching we're approaching an hour. So I guess
I don't
we're
know,
probably gonna
Steve, don't you guys have things to do? Should
I'm saying
skip a game called something, or do you want to
I think we're gonna have to skip the game called something this time.
Me too, because we were too chatty.
Well, it was an engrossing conversation, and I think there's so much more.
Sure.
So Kotaro, though,
something can be about reminiscing, but
yeah. So, Kotaro, before we go though, where can people find more about you? You can consider this kind of one part of a 2-part conversation with Kotaro here. The other part is going to be on the different podcast, the Side Project Spotlight podcast that I do with him. So if you want a more technical discussion about Vision Pro, Vision OS, and apps and that kind of thing, tune into that one. I'll put a link at least to the podcast website, because I'm not sure when these come out, but there will be kind of like a 2-part thing. But other than that, where can people find you on the interwebs, and like what are you up to?
Wild 30. I'm not online much anymore, so maybe the closest thing might be like 37 on X, as it's called these days. And I believe I'm on Mastodon sometimes, under I think Tomato Boy LLC. Or you can just find me at tomatoboy.co. So
nice.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Why tomatoes?
Oh, Tomato Boy was my nickname when I was the story is different for depending on which family member. Basically, I used to steal tomatoes when I was a little kid in my grandmom's tomato patch, so they called me Tomato Boy.
That's cool. I never heard that story. That's cool.
That's the origin of it.
Very good.
At least in my mind.
That's cool. So I guess we should do what, Christine?
You should wrap it up, Steve.
So wrap it up. So let's
do. Go about your business and then go talk tech.
Oh my God. Okay.
Well,
she's trying to kick us out here, Kotaro.
Coffee.
I have to pee, man.
Oh, it's always the reason. Okay, let me do the wrap up. Okay, so if you like what you hear today or watch, please follow us on the interwebs. We're on this YouTube. You just completely screwed up my whole spiel, Chrissy. Anyway, so follow us on YouTube and make sure you subscribe and ring the little bell so you get notified when we have updates. It actually really, really helps to subscribe and like and share our videos. The algorithm does not notice that we exist otherwise. You can also follow us on Facebook if you're an old person like us, at Jenkintown Arts Garage, and Instagram if you're still the younger person, at Jenkintown Arts Garage. You can also go to jagcast.show if you want to find out where you can subscribe to the podcast in audio form. And JenkintownArtsGarage.com is our newly updated website where you can subscribe there to be notified via email when we do updates, and eventually there will be some members-only content. So go there. And, of course, we still have our JenkintownArtsGarage.com/coffee. If you'd like to monetarily support the pod, you can just send us a few bucks that way and help Chrissy with her caffeine addiction. So,
not really. What you'll actually do is help with
hosting cost. Yes, there you go.
I will feed myself caffeine all by myself.
Yes. So anyway, it's been a really good conversation. That went better than I even imagined it would. I think, Kotaro. It's great. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Kotaro.
Thank you.
Okay, now you can watch the our amazing ending video. I don't know. I don't know if we had this last time you were on the podcast. So here we go. And I guess we'll see you on the next episode in 2 weeks. Bye.
Yep.
We're learning to break